Thank you all for joining us. Again, we are going to record today's session and post it on YouTube afterward. And would love to begin with introducing Sarah Diaz. Sarah is in business development, go-to-market and retail marketing across brick and mortar and e-commerce channels. She currently works at Amazon on the Alexa devices team in business development. Sarah has spent 3.5 years at a startup called Waybe, capital W, capital A, capital Y, capital B. And that was founded by the executive CEO of Patagonia. She was leading sales and business development and built the direct to consumer and wholesale channels from the ground up. Before joining Waybe, she was the director of sales at the Honest Company. I had to ask about that one too. She said it's a Jessica Alba company. And I'm sure, Sarah, you'll dive into this maybe a little more. But just to continue on, she before joining Waybe, she was the director of sales at Honest Company. And prior to that, she led the global GTM sales development team and was the director of NA marketing at Oakley. Sarah has spent the past 3 years with WFH and successfully leading and building businesses from the ground up. Today, Sarah is going to willing to take questions from any of you all throughout her session, or you can wait till the end and we can take questions at that time as well. Thank you for being with us today, Sarah. We appreciate you. And she's also a Northern Navigator. So welcome.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone for having me here today. I'm going to share my screen. Let me know if you can see it.
Yep.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Perfect. So I'm just going to quickly just walk through, what I've learned and what businesses have learned kind of from the pandemic and aspects that I think are going to stay around to help you and kind of things that you can take for your businesses as well. So here's just a quick agenda. I'm just going to introduce myself, talk about how the times are changing, give you, arm you with some tools on how to work from home and ways to connect with your virtual teams. So hi, I'm Sarah. Thank you so much for the introduction. So excited to be here. I spent my career the past 20 years just in sales and marketing. I've worked at, like she said, startups to major brands. I started my career actually working at Abbott Labs, working remote. So pretty much my career I've been working remote. I know what it's like. So I've been there, I've been in the field, not being in headquarters and just that, how do you connect with all the teams and networking and things like that. So, and then also when I worked at Oakley, I obviously was on the global team, but I worked with, 4 different regions, 40 different countries around the world and trying to find ways to connect with each, business and each, in-country team there. So lots of learnings from my Oakley days. And then I just, I spent the past 5 years working at startups and obviously, building teams from the ground up. And now I'm at Amazon working remote full-time. So I feel very lucky to be in the Traverse City area. I really do enjoy being here. And it's just been such an incredible experience. So the pandemic, it has changed everything, changed the way we work, the way our kids learn. It's changed a lot. Everyone who works remotely has sort of figured out when to work, where to work, and how to create boundaries between work and personal life. So I'm going to dig into kind of what I'm seeing as trends going forward as we come out of post-pandemic. Obviously, like many of you, it's been a challenging year for me and my family. And I'm looking forward to some, return to normality. Interacting face-to-face just on a regular basis really kind of improves the way that your team invents, collaborates, and learns. During the pandemic, I have to say, so many teams have adapted to working successfully together. Some companies are returning back to the office, sort of on a gradual process. And everyone just kind of needs the time to adjust after we've spent an entire year working remote. And it's, important that we create a flexible and understanding environment that allows everyone to kind of return at a frequency and cadence that like suits their team, their location, and their individual situations. Um, I think one of the most important thing is really just, finding ways to just make it easier for the teams to kind of work, return back to the office. Some companies are, temporarily suspending parking fees or just finding ways to kind of ease that transition. And I recommend just, focusing on providing flexibility for your employees. If your employees have families, just childcare is important. So making sure that, you kind of address each individual situation post-pandemic. And there are a lot of work and projects that can be tackled from home. So there are some companies that are kind of doing a hybrid model. The employees go in to work for a few days in the office and then a few days at home. So just having and providing that flexibility and just being open to that. But overall, just be supportive of your employees' needs, work together with them to kind of give them the flexibility that they require. So what are some insights that we're seeing working remote post-pandemic? So overall, the work environment has really changed for many professionals. Working remote professionals really have the ability to decide where and how and whom they socialize with during the work week. Looking at just a recent report from Upwork, which is a freelancing platform, really found that remote working doesn't always mean working from home. Um, Post-pandemic remote work will look a little differently. 22% are planning on working remote, but outside of their home. So you can kind of see the shifts pre-pandemic and post-pandemic and how they're working going forward. 26% are looking to work in a co-working space. I find this great. I worked at 20 Fathoms and I'm planning on going back to 20 Fathoms and just a way for you to kind of work from home, but also have that co-working space to network with locals and the community around you. And I will say, remote professionals on average have an additional 4 hours per week that they give back to their life. I moved here from the LA, Los Angeles area, and I was commuting 4 to 5 hours a day to get to my office, which was insane. And just, working for both, Wavy and Amazon, being able to work from home just offered so much flexibility. And I really feel that I'm a loyal employee because they offer that flexibility to you. So here are just some recommendations. These are tips for leading a better and more productive remote working life. It's based on my experience, but also what I've heard and learned from others. It's just about creating the ultimate work-life balance. The first one is just, maintain regular hours. I find that if you set a schedule, stick with it and make sure you have clear guidelines with your teams and your leadership of when you're going to be working and when you're going to call it a day. I think that's really important. For Amazon, I work East Coast and West Coast. So how do you manage both coasts? And so just making sure you kind of set that guardrail in the very beginning and make sure that your coworkers are aware of those time slots. I think the other one is creating a morning routine. When I say morning, it doesn't necessarily mean that everyone's working 9 to 5. It just might be when you get started. I start my day at 10 a.m. But I think the most important part is, over the past year is just really creating that getting started routine that helps you drive consistency. For me, I work out in the mornings. And I think the other piece is dressing the part. I notice, got to get out of my sweatpants, get out of my pajamas when I sit down at my desk and start the day. It just is like a mind shift, a mental mind shift for me when I'm actually dressed the part. So I think that's an important one. And then set ground rules with the people in your space. I think all of us have probably gone through having children at home who are learning at home or coming home from school while you're still working. I think it's really important that you have clear rules on what they can and cannot do during that time, just to make sure that you're set up for success. The other one is scheduling breaks. I really found that, I need to get up from my computer, get away from the screen time. Just having, at least an hour a day of getting some fresh air. It just, helps you kind of get through the day. I'm on my computer more than ever. So I don't know about you guys, but I don't wear glasses, but I got these blue light glasses and it really helped reduce my eye strain. So I highly recommend them. I think the other one is just having a dedicated office space. This really helps you kind of mentally check in and check out of work. This is your office time, and then you need to walk away from it. So having that dedicated office space is really important. And lastly, socialize with colleagues. I think this is the most important one. Loneliness and isolation can be a common problem with people that work remote, especially if you're an extrovert like me. Companies with remote work culture usually find ways to socialize, and there's so many great tools that can help with that. So that leads into my next section, which is, leverage technology to connect your employees. For me, it's just all about less email, less busy work, fewer meetings. And I think the most important thing is just making sure everyone is on the same page. Whether you're a startup of 5 people to a huge, massive organization like Amazon, I think it's really critical that you use technology to help you do that. It's when I started working at my startups, I've done a ton of research on like which tools to invest in, which ones that really help kind of make sure that we're all on the same page and that our staff can work remote successfully. So here's some just recommendations. It's really around communication, project management, and file sharing. So the first one on communications, these are just a select few of the ones that I really like. Basecamp's a great one. Their entire organization is actually work remote, which I sort of love. But this company is based just to organize your work streams, your teams, your projects. It has a great kind of message board to update the teams on what you're doing. There's a to-do section, which is really great because you can assign work and you can see, what's been done and what hasn't been done. You can schedule important dates and deadlines, and there's a great resource library section as well to kind of house, whether that be your team's goals or any files that you need to communicate with the group. There's also Campfire, which is a great chat room on there. So Basecamp's a really great tool. And I'm sure everyone is using Slack. It's just an amazing tool. I love. I think it's really great for just reducing the emails that constantly are coming in. What I like about it is that there's time zone aware messaging box. So you can select what your working hours are, and it kind of warns the other person that's contacting you that these are out of your working hours.
Sarah,
Yeah.
Sarah, I just have a question about emails.
Yes.
So it would be wonderful if emails went away entirely in my world, but how have you seen where emails have gone or lightened up by using these communication tools? Or is it a ruling that you've seen within your organization where Slack is used versus email?
Great question. If there's like a topic that can just easily be answered, we use Slack. But if there's like a big update that you need to do, you could easily use Slack, or you can do within Slack, there's like a channel section, and you can create specific channels for your team's needs. So you can create a channel that's dedicated to like organizational updates and just put it into Slack. Or if you want to have it in email, you can do it in email. It's just finding different ways to communicate and what's best for your team. Basecamp's another one. We used that one to kind of do our organizational updates as well. So then everything is kind of housed all in one place. And people can kind of go back for history of what was communicated in past meetings. Yeah, honestly, we don't use email quite a bit anymore. I really just use email to kind of get alignment around certain projects or processes and that sort of thing.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, I will say Slack has been just, from the socialization part, just really great. We created here at Amazon, we created what's called the water cooler channel. It's just like a fun way to connect with your teams, post memes, just get a laugh, really just connect. I really found that Slack has been just, working remote, that's just been the best tool out of it all.
It's a
And
way
then
to maintain that culture and that camaraderie.
exactly. Yep. And then from a project management standpoint, I really love these tools because they help the entire organization just get on the same page. I'm a huge fan of Rike. I don't know if anyone's ever heard of it before. It's just a really great way for each team owners to kind of update everyone on where certain projects are, whether you're in marketing and you're in charge of asset creation or you're leading product management. It's just a great way for the entire org to kind of see where certain things are within the stage gates, and really holds accountability to everyone. So those are some good project management tools. And then obviously file sharing with Box and Dropbox. We're all communicating via email. And a lot of times, here at Amazon, we have a cap on what we can communicate to each other. So it's just a nice way to kind of communicate certain files that are larger in size. Any questions? Okay. All right, so now I'm going to shift gears a little bit to talk about organizational connection. I think this is critical for all companies to kind of think about how you can test and learn to drive scalable programs. And the ways to do that is really just find mechanisms. This is something that we've done at Amazon where we're all about testing and learning. And the way that you can do that is really, determine which program you want to go after, define what it is, test it in a small group, see what's working, what's not working, establish those success metrics for that program so that it's very clear on what is working. And then having executive sponsorship. I think this is the most important part, is just making sure that the leadership is bought in and that there's accountability throughout the organization as you roll out those mechanisms and programs. And then just, different programs that you can do or ways that you can connect. For me, I think all hand meetings are just the best. It really is a way for the organization to just get up to speed on where we are, the status of the business, and for leaders to just be, frankly, transparent, which I think is important. And review kind of your goals for your organization, put a plan in place, and help the organization understand how they play a part in the goals. I think the other piece is like sharing wins within the all hands meetings. Depending on your size of your business, it's also good to kind of share what big rocks your teams are facing, and help kind of work together on finding solutions to those big rocks. And I would say, giving recognition to your teammates, your individuals, celebrate anniversaries and birthdays, just a way to kind of connect everyone together and feel like they've been seen and heard. One of my favorite things is called team time. We do this on a quarterly and monthly basis. It's honestly just about having fun with each other. Just, leave the work talk at home and just come and have fun with the team and do that virtually. So I'm going to give some examples of fun team times that you guys can do with your remote staff. The other one is creating a mentorship program. Honestly, it doesn't have to be complicated. It can be done at all levels, formal, informal, but it's just really about breaking down the silos in the hierarchy, and just connecting with each other and networking. The other thing that I've seen been really successful is having leadership office hours. It's a time slot for you to kind of jump on the phone on a video call with, an executive leader, kind of talk about what, rocks you're facing, and just talk through just one-on-one and just an opportunity to network. The other one I really like is coffee chats. This one is all about breaking down the silos and the hierarchy. At our company at Amazon, we can have a coffee chat with anyone. It doesn't matter if they're part of your division or in a different division. We just have a culture in place that we can pick up the phone and schedule a meeting with people and just get to know each other. I think the other one that I really seen really successful is just org-wide newsletters. If you have a huge team, hundreds of thousands of people, it's really great to kind of, see where you are within certain programs or the business. And it's a great way to kind of share best practices and highlighting those wins. And then the other one is culture committees, which I think is really super fun because it's all volunteer based, but just having a subset of teams that want to get together. And it's just, they kind of build out, those company culture building moments for your teams to kind of connect. So those are just some connection tips. And then this is one of my favorite things that we did when I started at Weeby. And I actually brought this over to the Amazon team as well, but this is called the 10 things. It's literally just the 10 things that you should know about me. And we did this for all new hires that joined the company. We had them fill this out, and then we would send it out to the team on their first week. So it was like a very great way of like getting to know someone right away. And even if you have an existing team do this, we tied it in at Amazon to a happy hour. It was just a really fun way for the teams who've been probably working together for 5 years to get to know each other a little bit more on a personal level, and found a lot of great ways to kind of connect with each other. There was a lot of similarities, just a great way to kind of break down, work life and just connect personally. And then just some fun team time ideas. It's been such a blast through COVID. We've had a lot of fun. Just a couple of these as an example. So we did like a bring family and pets to work day. One of my coworkers' mother is a really well-known writer, and she came and spoke to us, and it was a fun way to kind of get to know her and get to know her mom. We've done dress up meetings. One of my other favorite ones called Share and Tell. This is actually, it's such a blast. We just kind of rotate individuals. Each teammate shares kind of a short presentation on something that they're passionate about. For me, I presented about ultra marathon running and what that was like. And I kind of walked everyone through my trip to Nepal, and it was really fun to kind of show everyone what I did. My other coworker is colorblind, and so he talked us through what it's like being colorblind, and I learned a ton. So it was just like a fun way to kind of interact with each other and learn something new. And then the other one that we always implemented was Kudos Live. This is where we kind of give thanks to different team members. This is a great way for people who are kind of, in the lower ranks, if they're, not getting the recognition. This is a way for you to kind of give them that recognition in front of everyone. So lots of great team time ideas to kind of connect the teams and just make a fun environment so that people feel like they're personally connected to everyone involved. Perfect. Well, thank you so much. I hope you found, some good tips on how to work from home and just different ways that you can connect with your teams virtually. So I appreciate all your time.
Does anyone have any questions for Sarah? While you're thinking of questions, maybe. I actually am wondering if anyone out there has additional tips that you haven't seen or heard from Sarah that you've implemented within your teams. Maybe you would like to share. Quiet group today. It's not even Monday or 7 a.m. Let's see. Cindy, for the top 10 things, did you have preset questions?
Ooh, that's a good one. We did not. We just kind of put together like a super scrappy, put together a PowerPoint and said, okay, here, tell us about your life, tell us your family, like kept it super high level. And then once you kind of do it for your team, you can share those examples and then new hires can kind of learn from there.
So I wonder about those that have been completely remote, pulled out of the office space, put in remote space, and now they're being called back to work. What do you think about that, Sarah? How that adjustment is going to take place? Do you have any opinion, or have you seen it happening with the groups that you're working with?
I know other companies have been back to work for quite some time in the office. Yeah, I mean, I think it's an adjustment. But like I said, the companies that I've worked for, they've done such a great job in making sure there's flexibility. So just share your voice, make sure you're sharing with your leadership team and what you feel comfortable with. Yeah, I think it's all going to be a transition because we've literally went from working, for a year in our own homes, but, just go at it slow. It's just take the time. And be kind to yourself as you go through it
right,
too.
Right. And some of you may have heard that we're at 55% as far as vaccinations in the state. And so that allows us the ability to go back to work if you're not a frontline employee. Starting, I think, on the 24th. And I don't know, I'm really excited about going back into the office, but I don't think that I'll ever want to go back in every day. Mm-hmm. I like being
right there
able
with
to,
you.
Yeah.
I have a question. My name is Lindsay. I work at Northwestern Michigan College here in Traverse City. One of the things that has been a bigger adjustment than just, all being working remotely and not being together on a daily basis is onboarding new employees during this time and figuring out new ways to do that, best ways to do that. And one of the challenges I've really run into is realizing and recognizing the amount of just kind of like incidental training that happens when you can poke your head out your door and say, oh, hey, I've just learned about this, or remind you that I need to teach you this. What kinds of experiences have you had that might help us to figure out better ways for onboarding new employees?
Oh my gosh, I'm right there with you. I know I started at Amazon working remote, and it's such a huge team with a unique culture. I think one of the things that really worked was having kind of an onboarding plan documented. They have great technology, but like Basecamp would be a good example of like, you have your checklist of these are the things you need to do the first week. Here's a list of all the people that you should have one-on-ones with. And here's, within each one of those people that you're meeting with, here's your objective of that meeting and what you should get out of that meeting and what questions you should be asking. Sometimes as a new employee, you have no idea. You don't know. You're just still learning. So I felt like that guidance really helped me kind of hit the ground running. I was like, perfect. Okay, this is exactly who this team is and what I should be questioning and understanding. I'm trying to think what else. I did a lot of coffee chats. Like, again, just recommend whoever that new hire is, meeting with different leadership teams. I think in the beginning, you just don't know who is what, and you don't know, like, where is the hierarchy? You don't have any of that history. So just having those coffee chats, you're like, okay, cool. So tell me about what you do. You're just kind of green-eyed. You're just fresh into the company. Yeah, I think that's another one, is the coffee chats have been really helpful.
Great, thank you.
Cindy asked the question, what brought you to Traverse City, Sarah?
Well, I'm from Michigan originally. I grew up in Rochester, if anyone knows where that's at. But I was living in California for 10 years. And, I was kind of over that LA hustle, commuting 4 hours a day. And I just, when I came here on vacation, I grew up coming here a lot as a child, but when I came here, I was just like blown away, just how much it's changed. Um, when I first started, I met Camille, who's who's been such a great, I think I chatted with her before we even moved. And I was like, wow, there's some really cool people up here. There's, when I was working at 20 Fathoms, there's people from Airbnb, there's people from other startups. Like there's this really cool culture that I was excited about. And so, that plus I have 2 kids, and this is just a really great place to raise children. Not having to deal with LA where I'm afraid my kid's going to be walking away from me here. I'm like, go play outside. It's just totally different. So I really love the environment we have here.
Thank you for sharing that, Sarah. We do have a beautiful area that we live in. Camille is behind the Creative Coast logo here, and she heads up our project development. She's the director of project development for Traverse Connect, but also our Creative Coast website. If those of you that are on the call have not seen it, it's definitely a place to check out, michiganscreativecoast.com. There's a place on there where you can find a Northern Navigator. So if you know of people that are relocating to this area and want to get connected, Sarah's a Northern Navigator, even though she's somewhat new, but yeah, it's really a nice place to help people get acclimated in our space. Thanks for that, Camille. Thanks for doing that. In the chat section, Camille put the website. There's also a really nice jobs board available there as well. Does anyone have any other remote working related questions for Sarah? Rob, you're on mute.
I feel like that's such a
I've done it. Yeah. You're still on mute. Wait a second. Let's see. Is there anything I can do to help? Asked on mute. Does that help?
Am I still?
There you go.
Okay.
There you go.
I think the elementary Zoom class would be helpful. In terms of your experience in hybrid situations or working remote, and maybe emotionally as you look at your career, how much fear is there by not being in the office or being present? Do you feel like you miss out on? Do you feel like you're provided with opportunities in the same way that the people who are dealing with employees on a day-to-day basis get?
That is a great question. I think pre-COVID, I would say yes, there was concern that you're not face-to-face with people, you're not in the meetings. Yeah, but I would say post-COVID, it's a totally different game. I think people now know, people are used to video calls first off. When pre-COVID, when I was doing video calls, I'd be like awkwardly trying to raise my hand, like need to speak, I want to talk, but I can't talk over people. Now it's like people are totally used to this kind of environment. And I will say just how important it is to just take advantage of getting on people's calendars and putting your face out there. I think if you're proactive about that and not afraid of it, you're going to be so ahead of the game when it's kind of a hybrid model. Going hybrid is okay because it's still going to be sort of this kind of remote working life. So that's my take.
Just to follow up, have you seen companies offer employees the option to work remote or be in the office, and what do most people choose?
It's pretty mixed. I think it's like 50-50. Yeah, I think people are really liking the hybrid piece of it because then they can kind of choose their own adventure, right? They can decide if they feel comfortable doing it. You know what I mean? And there's still that flexibility involved because you're just dipping your toes in the water to get back into that situation again. So you're getting that flexibility. But yeah, I would say it's pretty mixed.
Thanks.
Good questions. Well, no more questions? Any more questions? I agree with you that I think that it's a mix, that people are choosing to do a little bit of both, and that the hybrid is definitely not going away. It'll continue, especially with conferences. You know, you'll have individuals that will want to attend in person and those that would prefer to be online.
Yep.
Well, we appreciate all of you joining us today. And Sarah, are you open to receiving emails from individuals? I saw that you had your email address on there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Those
Happy
that
to
may
connect
have-
with anyone.
And yeah, if you have any questions, please reach out to Sarah offline, and we will post the recording later on today on YouTube under the Traverse Connect subscription if you have that. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thanks, Sarah.
Okay, bye.